Hi, I'm Ralph Preston, and welcome to our Tuesday Stroke Buddies Stroke Survivor Support Group meeting. We have these every Tuesday at 11 a.m. Eastern Time, so join us if you can. Today we're going to talk a little bit about wellness. It's a very broad topic, includes a lot of things, and our guest is Angelia Abouhassan. And she's a stroke survivor herself, and she's going to tell us a little bit about her story, how she got to where she is with her on her journey towards wellness, and some of the things that she's discovered along the way. So, Angelia, take it away.
Hi, everyone. Um, First, we're going to start this off with a little reset, a little trick that I like to use whenever I need to kind of refocus or focus my attention into something. And I'm going to talk to you about a couple things that I think are going to be kind of important, and it's good that you're going to be able to retain it. So let's go ahead and maybe I invite you to dim your gaze a little and take a nice deep inhalation through your nose and then blow it out through your mouth. And we're going to do that like 2, 3 times. Okay. So let's go ahead and 1, 2, 3, and then exhale to a count of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and repeat. All right. Now I'm ready. Nerves are a little calmer, my brain's a little clearer, and we can function through this. So I experienced a stroke in February of 2019. I was 44 years old. I It started with something called thunderclap headaches, and it um, literally disabled me immediately. I fell as soon as it happened. I fell to my kitchen floor, and within a very short period of time, like a couple hours, it went away. I was unaware of what was going on within my body system. I went to bed. Thank God what was going on with me didn't turn into a full blown stroke at that moment, because if it would have, I probably wouldn't be here right now. The diagnosis I was given was called RCVS syndrome. And because it went undiagnosed, I wound up having a TIA, ischemic stroke. I'm not saying that right. I know I'm not. But so I was left about 8 days later, after going back and forth to the hospital repetitively, and I'm talking about every day, if not every other day. Um, I was left in a situation um, where they told me not to come back there for this issue. They told me that I needed to go, and explore emotional health and wellness. And so I was left in a position where I was on my couch, and all of a sudden, all the functionality out of my hand was lost. Within a few minutes, it moved down into my arm, and within about 5 minute span, I couldn't move my leg either. I am right dominant, and it affected my dominant side, my right side. Um, so I At that same time, my husband came home. I was sitting eating breakfast with my daughter when all of this happened, trying to keep her calm. And my husband had worked as EMT and ambulance driver, so he was pretty familiar with symptoms. He called 911 right away, and I went to the hospital. I rested there for 2 days while they were trying to figure out why different parts of my body just started spasming uncontrollably. My arm would just twitch off the bed out of nowhere because I started to have seizures, and then the stroke occurred. I transferred hospitals, and they that was whenever I was in the ICU. I stayed there for about 8 days, and then I moved from there to a rehab, and I couldn't move anything on my right side. Couldn't see out of my right eyeball any longer. And I was really confused. My cognitive abilities weren't really clearly working. I wasn't understanding a lot of what was happening, and I couldn't retain anything that people were saying to me. And so I stayed there for a few months trying to learn how to walk and learn how to become a mobile, functioning human being again. While I was there, I worked hard. I came home walking on a cane. Um, I came home in a wheelchair, and I had moments where I could walk on a cane. Let me explain that a little clearer. I sat with a toilet right next to my bed. I really struggled even lifting my own body up out of the bed. For a few months, I had a tremendous amount of help with family and nurses coming into my house, trying to help me function through just normal hygiene care and daily living. I struggled to feed myself. I really had very minimal activity on my right hand at first. My father put a ball in my hand. I've always been an athlete, and my father was with me, and he put a ball in my hand and told me I needed to start squeezing that ball as much as I could. I can't tell you how many times I dropped that ball. It was ridiculous. But I kept picking the ball up, and I kept trying. I kept asking people to help me, and I kept trying. And eventually, after several months, my hand started to open and close. I got horribly depressed through all of this. And in my depression, and because of the state my body was in, I got incredibly full of anxiety. I really had a struggle. I had a very difficult time leaving my home. I had a difficult time even leaving my bedroom some days. And there were things that I had to do, like I had to go places, and I no longer drove. So that required me to take the bus, which forced activity into my life, which was good. I ironically had just moved right before this experience occurred in my life, and I moved into a split level house. So I have a gazillion stairs that I have to go up and down consistently throughout my day because the laundry's downstairs. If I want to get outside, I got to go downstairs. Um, and fortunately, this house was equipped already with handicap rails in the bathroom, and really good rails all around the house. So it was kind of like I was in the right place at the right moment. So I was sitting in a depression, and I was sitting full of anxiety, and I was pretty angry. And I did a little why me, and I did a lot of boo hooing, and I did a bunch of screaming. And if I could have stomped, I would have stomped, you know. And it took me a minute to understand exactly what had happened and how to move my body system out of the state of trauma that the stroke brought with it. Having any medical illness is a traumatic experience, just like being hit by a car or having a bear attack you. These all leave these crazy imprints in your body systems. It absorbs into the entire system, and it assists with things like cellular confusion. Whenever we carry these things in our body, we tense up our body, our heart rate speeds up, we start to do a lot of mouth breathing. not nostril breathing. And the nostrils, just like the kidneys, are the biggest part of your filtration system. And it is pretty important to focus on where your breath is. Well, I didn't know any of these things. Um, I was in therapy. I was in trauma therapy actually whenever I had the stroke. And I was going into that, I was in that therapy due to traumas that I had suffered as a child that I was having a really difficult time releasing and moving through. Um, and they invited me to a yoga, it was called a trauma yoga class. And I just was like, what the heck? I might as well try this. It was a very limited invitation. So there were only like 5 of us in the class. It really was personal and private, and it was absolutely beautiful. They taught me how to breathe. And at first, I walked into this just thinking, I know how to breathe. I'm still alive, you know? And once I dove more and more into it, I was utterly surprised within a week how incredibly different I started to feel. Um, and then I just kept going every day. I was like, I'm just going to give this a try. I just tried to keep awareness that this was something I wanted to try. I'm going to exert discernment and dedicate this as a gift to myself. And I went ahead and in the mirror every morning, I would wake up and I would look at that woman staring back at me. That was another thing I started to do was refocus the way I was actually communicating with myself. I did that kind of simultaneously. And when I would stare at that woman staring back at me, I wouldn't look at her as though she was this disabled, broken human. I would look at her as though she was a healing, beautiful woman. And I would recite that mantra to myself in that mirror. I would brush my teeth. After I'm done brushing my teeth, I would do a little breath work. And it would only take me a couple minutes. And then later on that day, eventually I started stacking these moments throughout my day where I would take a minute here and I would breathe intently, pull breath in through my nostrils and blow it out of an open mouth with force. In doing these actions, it causes a reset to occur within your vagal nerve. Now, when this all started happening, I told you I couldn't see. My eyesight started to reappear. It started to become clearer and clearer. And I started to realize that I wasn't asking so many people to help me read for me. I was able to read the things that I was trying to read. And I was like, oh my goodness, I got super excited and I started educating my mind. I needed to figure out how this happened at 44 years old and how to make sure I don't have to do this again. So I dove into learning about your central nervous system, learning about exactly what the breath does whenever you concentrate on the breath, learning about resetting your vagal nerves, your vagus nerve, learning about resetting your body system out of a state of confusion and illness. Because when you're deep in illness, what is happening is your cells are speaking to each other through neurotransmitters and they're talking sick. They're confusing each other and they start at that stage attacking each other. They start killing off the cells, the cellular structure that you actually need to beat illnesses like that. Breath is one way to reset this system within your body. A practice of breath is one way. So I've been doing this now for a year and a half. And when I started doing this concentrated breath moments through the day, and I do maybe like 2 or 3 through the day, and they really are very short, like a minute, 2 minutes long. Sometimes, after I work out through the day, I actually spend some time in meditation myself. Um, and I dedicate at least a half hour to an hour to that as often as I can daily, for sure. Um, what it allowed me was freedom. It allowed me freedom from the fatigue. It allowed me freedom from the brain fog. And it allowed me the ability to begin to heal my body and change the things I was capable of doing. I began being able to have a clear mind to work my body a little bit with some body movement, with small body yoga movement. I did chair yoga for a long time, actually couch yoga at first, and then I moved to chair. And then from there, I've moved to full body yoga. I have been able to not only get myself away from the wheelchair, I've moved away from the cane, I've moved away from toilets in my bedroom. I'm able to move all of my body today. I am walking. I have deficiencies still. I have some foot issues and ankle issues that I'm working out right now. And I have some different sensation issues going through, I think, some back problems that occurred because of that balancing game that goes on whenever you lose your balance and you're trying to weave it back into your body. Um, so I today what I have been able to build is a very nice self-care routine that I enjoy. My body and my mind feels better afterwards. I've actually, at the beginning of this past year, I went back to school and I am becoming a holistic practitioner with a study of nutrition. And I threw the nutrition piece on top of it because I had found that the body movement and the breath got me so far. There was another piece missing. And that's whenever I dove into going to school to understand the body systems biologically through the biology of the body system and understand what neuroplasticity does within your body system, how to boost your stem cell regeneration. And so now I got about 6 more months left and I should be done with this. And I'm excited because the things that I have learned in stacking these different habits that I've been able to stack slowly. This took me all of this last year and a half to do. This is not something that has happened overnight. And be aware that some of the things that have worked for some people doesn't necessarily mean that they might work for you. My plan that I work, my rituals that I practice every day are things that I have found have worked to regenerate neuroplasticity at optimal level that my body can through healing. That possibility is there for all of us. It's about learning and listening to what your body is saying to you. I have found that during those moments of meditation and breath, it slows me down enough to reset that autonomic response of stress. And when we're living in a state of stress constantly, which most of us were, I would have to say all of us were, if you suffered a stroke, you were living in a low grade state of stress. And in that low grade state of stress, your body becomes a machine of poison. It starts releasing high levels of cortisol and adrenaline, and it completely will shift the entire factory that's working within this body. And that's something to be very aware of whenever you start to feel moments of anxiety and stress. It literally can take up to 9 hours. Like, say you get angry and have a moment, it can take your body up to 9 hours to reset from a moment like that. And that through that entire time, it is absorbing more adrenaline and cortisol. And after a stroke, your body doesn't need any more of that. It needs so much less of that. I think some of the best things that I have discovered through all of this is how to actually heal, not just the healing of my physical body, but the healing of the damage that I had been walking around with, the trauma that had affected my body system so intensely. And I have been able to brush against something called joy, and that I cannot get over how wonderful it is. Going from such a dark state in getting the ability or getting the gift to experience happiness and joy again is divine. And in that divinity, I have been able to find love and compassion and grace for myself. I still fall from time to time. I still, and I fell like a couple months ago. I haven't fallen since because my balance is really getting better. I've started a new therapy through dry needling recently. And I don't believe dry needling is for everybody, but it certainly is showing some incredible healing and response within my body system. I know that there's acupuncture out there, there's yoga out there. I do things like body taps. I also do things like not just with the breath work, but oh my goodness, when I sit down to eat, I try to stay in awareness that everything is happening within my body through the nutrition that I am choosing to put into this body. So I have cut out things of my diet that I have found allergies to that I was totally unaware of that were spiking things in my body and decreasing dopamine and serotonin. And I was having sleep problems. I was having all kinds of issues with my body system. And since I have gone to not a full vegan diet at all, I eat fish and I still eat turkey. I eat farm raised turkey meat and chicken, but I don't eat very much of it. I always make sure I buy organic. And I cut out dairy and gluten, and I haven't completely cut sugar out. I'm really struggling there, but I have cut it back considerably. and and through those changes, and adding some supplements into my life, like probiotics and prebiotics, making sure I have a good vitamin count. I take as in my on my plate. I have a good vitamin count. And when I say a good vitamin count on my plate, I say my plate looks like a rainbow. I make it look like a rainbow with vegetables and fruits and just a little bit of meat for myself. This is my personal choice. There are many different types of of eating plans, I guess. I really hate the way that people kind of have that idea around these type of lifestyle changes, but it's not just changing eating, it's kind of changing everything. And doing it within the steps that you're comfortable with. I just found for the thing that worked the best for me was doing the breath because it allowed my brain to clear up enough and re energize enough to learn and implement more things that my body needed to help it heal. So that's about all I got for right now. Does anybody got any questions?
I hate the word diet because it implies something temporary in our minds, whether it isn't or isn't. If you look it up in the dictionary, it actually says, what you eat, and so it's an appropriate word, but it's kind of become, it's come to mean like going on a diet. And when you go on a diet, you come off a diet. And the real way to look at all this stuff in wellness, particularly nutrition, is that you really have to make lifestyle changes. One other thing I'll say, and I'll let it open it up to other people, is that I think that there's a huge connection between your mindset and healing. That, you can't heal as well if you're in a bad place, and you can heal a lot better if you can get yourself to and try and maintain as much as possible, because as we all know, all of us who've gone through this know it's not possible to be on and happy and perfect 100% of the time. So anybody got anything they wanted to discuss in terms of wellness?
I have to say I agree both with you. The eating plan is probably a much better word because diet has that implication of restriction versus the implication of eating plan is a choice you're making. You're planning what to have.
I couldn't agree more. It's actually been pretty interesting because when this experience happened, I wasn't able to cook anymore. And since I have been healing, I'm in the kitchen so much more. I'm cutting, I'm using all different kinds of tools, and all of it is therapy. Everything that I do in my house, if I choose to clean or vacuum or anything, can be therapy. So you can implement at everything is. You can implement at any time. The nutrition part of it has been completely fascinating because there are certain foods that we eat in this country on the regular that typically when you have neuro problems like a stroke or parts of your body that aren't functioning properly, it is a sign that things are slowing up within your body system. Your plaque is too built up and things can't move properly, and it doesn't allow for proper flow. And in order to get that clarity of mind and you have to have enough oxygen in your body, and your body has to be able to flow properly. Kind of like a car can't run without oil. Yeah, our bodies can't really do that whenever our lymphatic fluid, our blood, and all of our fluids start to build up onto each other and stick to each other. Now, to have those fluids move more functionally, it is done through getting enough oxygen within your body, getting that carbon dioxide out of your body, having that move properly and intently through your body system. When you're just mouth breathing or sitting there unconsciously breathing, typically it is fast chest breaths. And that's not that your body can live there, sure, but that's not going to help your body heal. Healing is a deep body breath, pulling that in and then blowing that out. Nutrition you can have fun with it. This stuff is stuff to have fun with. You know, I pretend like sometimes whenever I'm inhaling, I'm blowing out giant dandelions. I pretend sometimes that I'm blowing, you know, the wind, I'm blowing with the wind. You know, you can just go and play with these things. The vagus nerve is another way to stimulate this is through humming and gurgling or sighing is another quick way for a reset or a stimulation. Just like animals will shake their body, you know, that's their way of resetting their vagus nerve and their body systems whenever they fall into a traumatic situation or something. You know, I know we've all seen animals do this. Um, and the nutrition aspect of it is been really fun too, because I've been trying all different kinds of foods, learning, you know, the foods that really work best to help your mind clear up and remove toxicity from your body. We walk around in a world that is toxic. That's a reality. And toxicity soaks in through your skin, gets in our it's in our toothpaste, it's in the products that they sell us. You know, it's in soaps. There's high metal content in soaps and in toothpaste. And so, you know, I think for me, it's been a bit of a mountain I've been climbing as I've been learning, you know, the things that I want to find acceptable and the things I don't want to find acceptable, and having fun with trying different avenues. There's all different types of breath work. There's all different types of yoga. There's all different types of natural healing remedies, like body taps and head taps. I use a wooden pillow. I use stretch straps. I use tension bands. I have something called a incline board. It's a fantastic tool. This thing has helped me bring my ankle back and get it back to a working mobility. The nutrition aspect of it has been like the bonus part of it, because I've been able to detox my body, and now I know how to detox my body. I definitely choose to make a little kinder choices to myself. And those choices have paid off. Like when I go to the grocery store, I find myself buying foods that are more whole foods, whole organic foods, and playing around with new recipes. It's been kind of interesting. And my body, I honestly, I don't know if I've ever felt this good. Even whenever I was a young kid, I don't know if I've ever felt physically this good ever since I can remember. It has made such an impact and a change into how I choose to navigate through my world today. So I am working with people also, and I'm also working in this group, the Wellness After Stroke group that I do with Ralph, and the Stroke Buddies groups. I post a lot of information in there and a lot of educational videos in there, and I communicate with a lot of people that ever have questions. I do work with people on teaching these different modalities. If anybody is ever interested, please feel free to reach out to me.
Well, and I'll put the link to the wellness group in the description on this video on YouTube, so people here and also people just to tune in on YouTube who aren't here today can find that group, because we're trying to build it up. And well, when you build it up in terms of numbers, you build it up in terms of content, because the more people you have interacting, the more likely, you know, people bring in their own posts. So numbers are usually good, and I of course participate in that group and keep an eye on it. And Angelia is doing a great job with. I would have to guess because I haven't been monitoring it, but I see 3 or 4 things a day that she posts in there, and most of them are interesting. Like ankle yoga, I think was the last one that I saw. So uh, check that out because what we're trying to do is share this concept with people. One of the things you can do at the supermarket, it's real simple, is I say shop the outside. You know, the only reason to go into the middle is to find the organic pasta next to the regular pasta. But typically the middle of the store is where they contains all those processed foods, and so a lot of processed foods have a lot of additives. I personally won't eat anything that I can't pronounce, and or if I look at the back of a can of something and the ingredients list is this long, I don't even read it. Because if they have to put 72 things in there, it's pretty highly processed. So if you do dairy, stick with the dairy and the vegetables and things around the outside because they're more.
Bless you. Oh, God bless you.
Whether going to like Angelia said, she's not on a vegan diet. I'm not on a vegan diet either myself. I try and eat healthy. I've been a kind of a well, I eat fish, so I guess and I eat some dairy, so I guess I'm a lacto-ovo piscivore, and I've been a vegetarian of sorts for like 50 years. So it's not a matter of being on some kind of strict thing. It's a matter of, well, I think Angelia would agree, but a lot of this comes back to body and mental awareness. These are things that you can develop post-stroke. They're really going to serve you well in your recovery because if you're not paying attention to what's going on with you, how are you going to improve it?
Yes, that's what the breath and the meditation really helped with my mind being able to clear up enough to understand that this scenario that I was in needed me more than anything. And I had to be there for me to be able to relearn how to get my body to a working condition. And the more that I dove into just those moments of breathing, the clearer I found my mind, the less pain and tightness I would feel within my body. And because those things loosened up a little bit for me, it allowed me to begin a body mobility program. And now, my goodness, it's unbelievable what I'm capable of doing. And I actually came home from my last appointment and I looked at my husband and I said, I think I am actually going to be able to run again. And it's exciting once you start seeing these improvements, and they every week I see something new. It's been very profound. Now, I work really hard today. My program is about 2.5 hours long every day. I usually rest maybe once or twice if my son can talk me out of working out and going to the pool. But yeah, I usually give myself 1 or 2 rest days a week. And I celebrate through food. I focus my attention when I'm getting ready to eat into thanking my body for absorbing this food, into praying for the food I have and being grateful for it. And in that moment, actually taking that minute allows your body to release more digestive fluids. It allows saliva to form in your mouth, which is exactly what starts to happen before you eat. And that's all part of this beautiful digestive process. Our gut, our gut is everything. Our gut is everything. I can't stress that enough. And I know for myself, I found that I had leaky gut, and leaky gut meant that I had holes that were allowing toxins to go through my gut, my membrane, into the cellular structure of my body. And that it takes a little while to heal that, but that is caused by different foods and trauma that you're putting on your body through stress and through the nutrition that you're eating. Absorption is everything. It has everything to do with um, and your body flowing. I can't stress enough too about drinking enough water. Yeah, water is gigantic. And making sure that you're removing the waste that your body is supposed to remove on a daily basis. It is, for a healthy body, very normal for you to use the restroom and go number two up to 4 times a day, especially if you're on medications. And if you're at least going once a day, that is a good thing. But for a body in optimal working condition, it is very normal for it to be releasing up to 4 times each day, because the body doesn't hold on to those toxicities whenever it's working on optimal level. And when you're in illness, you will find that that waste schedule will die down. I know when I had my stroke, I was lucky to use the restroom once every 2 weeks. So I've made complete changes through nutrition, fiber, fiber. Make sure you're getting enough fiber and water. And you can find fiber in all kinds of vegetables. I know the grains, there's many different kinds of grains out there that have wonderful flavors and all different kinds of really cool recipes that we try. I know that a lot of people post in that nutrition, the Stroke Buddies nutrition group. So that's a good place to look for things like that.
One thing I'll say is, if you want to get an overview of how all this works, they don't go into like nutrition or what you should eat or anything, and that would be for people who have Netflix. There's a series on there called Human, the Body Within, and the one on the gut genome is called Fuel, and it talks all about the importance of fiber and how your gut genome actually is responsible for your brain making serotonin or your body making serotonin and sending it to your brain. So there's a brain gut connection that scientists are exploring at this point. We've learned a lot about it in the last few years, but I think we're going to learn a lot more. So that would be Human, the Body Within, Fuel. There's also an excellent one on the brain and central and nervous system called React, and the one on the heart circulation, I forget what it's called. They had these cute little one-word names like Fuel and React. The whole series is worth it, but that one on Fuel really is eye-opening. One of the things, you're talking about, somebody said, oh, I posted in the nutrition group, which is another one. We have a nutrition group in addition to a wellness group. I posted like a lunch with some grapes, and somebody said, oh, those grape skins are hard to digest. Well, what I learned, what was very interesting, I always knew about the importance of fiber and roughage. I mean, I've eaten raw salad and raw vegetables, for 50 years as a vegetarian because I was aware of that, and whole grains and things like that. But actually, one of the things I learned is things like grape skins and some of the parts of whole foods. It's part See, we evolved wandering around and, picking things and drinking out of creeks. It's only been 10,000 years since we started cultivating anything. So our body systems evolved over a million years based on scavenging or hunter gathering, they call it. But we're used to eating these whole things. It turns out things like grape skins, the grape has got fruit sugars and things that you can use immediately, but the grape skins also perform a function, and that is on a microscopic level, they help clean out all of the, I think they're called cilia and things in your small and large intestine. So all this roughage, whole grains, grape skins, all the things that you get from eating whole foods as opposed to processed foods, because you get grape jelly, they got purple in there. That's maybe the only thing that really comes from the grape. No, there's no grape in there, but there's lots of other stuff, and you certainly don't get the skins. So a lot of this stuff works in consort with the way that our bodies evolved as hunter-gatherers. Boy, that was too long, but...
No, it wasn't. It was perfect. I've also posted some really good podcast listens. They're maybe 45 minutes to an hour long within the wellness group that speak into the gut microbiome and epigenetics, and how to set your body into a state of regeneration and pull it out of dysbiosis, of illness, of that constant feedback loop, and resetting that feedback loop. I can't stress enough, really does start with resetting your vagus nerve, and the breath does a perfect spot. It's a perfect way to do that. Just practicing a small practice of maybe a minute or two at different moments, a couple times a day, is how I started this. Some days I forgot in the beginning, but then when I pulled awareness to it and started to feel that anxiety raise and that tension happen in my body, I would immediately check myself and say, okay, that's right. We got to breathe. We got to breathe. That has been, and I stress this with everybody, that has been the first step for me pulling into getting my body back. I started this a year and a half ago, and I literally at that point couldn't get myself off the floor. I couldn't. If I fell, I was down there until somebody came and helped me. I couldn't. I was still having a really hard time moving and carrying things. I was still having such a tremendous amount of body mobility issues. I am dumbfounded, pleasantly surprised, stuck in awe that my body has been able to heal to the extent that it has. Now, again, I do state, the things that worked for me. We're all very unique human beings. Our microbiome is as unique as our fingerprint, just like a snowflake, where you don't have one that matches at all. So we are very unique to who we are. Building a program that you enjoy and that works in your world is going to bring you the most peace. Do things that you love doing. Don't forget those things. So, and be kind to yourself.
I have something I'd like to share.
Go ahead.
And I did share it in the wellness group, but I think it is a perfect complement to what Angelia has been saying today. And it is Action for Happiness. And they do a monthly calendar, and it's every day just has a very small, quick action. And Angelia, today's is get the basics right. Eat well, exercise, and go to bed on time. So that's today. Then tomorrow is pause, breathe, and feel your feet firmly on the ground. So I think that their calendar for each month, and you can get it on paper, you can just download it and save it, or you can actually, mine is now added to my Google Calendar. So it's on my phone, so I can just see each little day as I go along.
I was going to say something about basically on the same topic, which is I think that part of your healing, Angelia, has come from mindfulness as well, the mental component combined with the nutrition and some of the other things, because I think that it's really important to keep a positive attitude and to think, to be thinking as much as you possibly can. I'm going to get better. Because I think that I'm a very strong believer in mindset having an effect on us physically. I've seen a couple things in my life. I've got a younger brother who wouldn't be alive if it wasn't for this concept, but won't divert the meeting with that. Let's just leave it that imagining yourself getting better, the whole mindfulness thing is not to be underestimated. And when you were talking about what works for one doesn't necessarily work for another, that's true. You got to figure out your own plan. It's like same with physical therapy and everything with the stroke thing. You got to become your own best patient advocate, a nutritionist, a physical therapist, a psychologist, and pay attention to everything that's going on with you. For example, here's an example. When you were talking about that, I remember this. So I went to Costa Rica for 10 days and I wasn't eating cereal with whole milk on it. When I came back, I started again. I started blowing my nose in the morning again. I went, definitely a connection. So I switched to almond milk, no more blowing the nose in the morning. So, I mean, that's just a little, I mean, that's insignificant.
I think
The sense,
the neat,
that's an example of, paying attention to what's going on with you.
yeah, the neat thing about like trying different things is that your gut mucosa, which is the lining of your gut where all of your nutrition absorbs into it, that mucosa lining actually sheds and regenerates every 5 to 6 days. So understand that if you try something different, like say you try to eliminate milk or you try to eliminate, gluten, you can try it for a short period of time. Within a week, you will start to become aware of some differences that are happening within your body. Adding foods or taking them away, it changes your body physiologically, not just physically. And it's pretty profound. You can notice that maybe you'll start to sleep a little better, or you just have a little bit more accelerated energy, or your brain might be a little bit clearer, And as I stepped through all of this, which I didn't just wake up and say, I'm changing it all and I'm doing it right this second. No. This was all very slowly and methodically worked out over a very nice stretch of time, because I wanted to use myself kind of as a guinea pig to see if this would actually work. I am off of all of my medication except for one pill now. I take 3 different supplements as well. And I work on yoga, I work on breath, and I work on mindfulness. This has all brought me back to a functioning day each day, and it has made my present something very worth opening. I try very hard to stay in this present because this is the only one I got. I got this today. It doesn't guarantee me tomorrow, and it doesn't have anything to do with yesterday. It has everything to do with what I've got going on today. So if I can stay in my present and open it up the right way, I have the ability to navigate through my life and share it with other people. And that I found to bring me the most happiness. I thank you all for listening. I'm very grateful.
Thank you.
Well, and I don't think that change is a switch, like you were alluding to. You can't say I'm going to do this and this and this and this starting Monday morning at 9 o'clock. I mean, that's what I call guy thinking. Guys tend to see things in black and white, off and on. Women tend to see things more like a rheostat instead of an on-off switch.
Mm-hmm.
You have to kind of slide into change. They say it takes 5 days to turn something into a habit, or 50. So you just got to keep at it. Just got to keep at it, like everything. It's like that big long list of being a patient advocate, being a PT, being a psychologist, being a nutritionist. You just got to keep at all of them if you want to get better. Big job, but
Jeff, did you want to say something?
I have two questions for Angelia Abouhassan.
1 second, Winnie. Please go ahead.
Did you say that at one point you lost complete function of your right side?
Yes, I did. I was in a wheelchair when I came home, unable to move my right side.
Did you experience a subluxation of your humerus?
I experienced a tremendous amount of tone and spasticity issues, brain fog. Like, I can't even explain it. I had a really difficult time. I experienced some aphasia. I had a very difficult time just comprehending things. My left foot has been, I've got some structural issues now because of the tone and spasticity turning my ankle. And that's what I'm working out currently with the, oh my goodness, with the dry needling.
he was wondering about your right shoulder, a subluxation.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. It's basically, for those who don't know, it's basically like sort of like a dislocation.
My right shoulder does not sit where my left shoulder sits currently. This is something I am also getting treatments on with the dry needling currently to see if I can kind of wake up the response. I find at this stage what I try to do, because I think I've done what I can do strength building wise to get my muscles back into working into a working continuous manner rather than tightening and freezing on me, is I sit in full awareness as to if my right side is folding over, which it tends to do from time to time. My shoulder does not pop out, but I do have that rubber band feeling in it where it just feels loose and it doesn't want to go. Like sometimes when I go to raise it, it will kind of fly off to the right or the left in a way that it shouldn't. I am under the impression that once we get through this first round of 12 dry needling sessions, we're going to work those all the way up my body. Right now, we're really focused on my leg and ankle and trying to get it to function in my back. But from what I'm discussing with him, it seems like some of this might be related to some disc issues I have also within my back, degenerative issues that I have that are happening because of age.
Well, I'm a lot older than you, and I can tell you that if you strengthen your glutes, that you'll deal with that whole pelvic floor issue. It's if you do any swinging when you walk with that hip, what I sometimes call hip dip, I got rid of it by strengthening glutes, and I'm talking after 14 years. Mostly got rid of it. One of the things that's really difficult at 14 years is you get certain things patterned into your brain. I've done them in an acceptable way for a long time, and then to get even better, it's hard to remember to do it all the time. Your brain will easily slip back. But so
Winnie, did you have a
Well,
question?
Yes.
I also
Along
Oh,
the lines of your yoga, you
mhm.
said you did it early on and you did it when you're wheelchair and then now you fully body. So how long did each one take you?
Well, in the beginning, I was doing maybe 15 minutes of yoga at a time, and I would do it once a day. At that stage, I was maybe doing it 3 times a week. It depended on my energy level. The energy and attention has changed drastically. My ability to focus has changed drastically as I have moved through this. Now I do an hour of yoga and a half hour, an hour of yoga and a half hour of weights. I also do a half hour of walking. With that, typically that will range up to 2.5 hours every day because I take my time. I don't move quickly. Um, I don't intend on pushing my body in ways that my body won't go. I listen to my body as I move through this, and I do it slowly with the proper breath. If I'm doing all of these things, it's taken me a minute to build this focus and the awareness to be able to, when I'm moving, okay, I'm not breathing through my mouth. I got to breathe through my nose. And I want to make sure that I full body breathe. And I want to close my eyes. So I'm shutting out those external sensors. I'm not overworking my energy. So when I close my eyes, as I'm sitting there doing these things, it allows for that energy to be redirected in another way. And I find that music has absolutely been a phenomenal tool as well. I don't know a whole lot about sound therapy, but I use music religiously every single day. It
So
just
how
makes me feel better. What?
did you do chairs yoga before you did full body?
Hmm.
I think
I did the chair.
how
Yeah,
long? Go ahead.
I did the chair yoga for about, I would say, probably about 3 months. And then I slowly started to move. I was able at that point to slowly get myself on the floor and pull myself back up. And that has improved. Now I can stand and bend down and tie my shoes. I can't believe I can do that. It blows my mind. But that has been through like building this. I would try things, Winnie, and I would fall, but I would make sure that the space I was working in had room and didn't have things that I would get hurt by. I really had to be, and as I fell, I learned, oh, okay, I probably should move that because that hurt when I hit it, So I have learned as I have gone through this, sometimes the hard way. I have a series of wounds I think I've posted on here off and on throughout this healing journey. And I find each one of them to just teach me a little bit more of a lesson on how
I
to love
just
myself.
read a study and it was talking about stroke rehabilitation analogous to childhood learning. And the first thing they did, and he was a younger stroke survivor, first thing they did was teach him how to fall. They started on a Pilates ball and worked teaching him how to fall and get up.
Mm-hmm. Mm. That's what I tell my kids. I tuck and roll. Yes, Sarah.
A couple various different things. For people who are interested in yoga, it's really critical to look for what's called adaptive yoga so that it's not, we're not a bunch of young, skinny 20-somethings trying to put our legs behind our heads. But,
I agree. I actually have some adaptive yoga videos
well,
and chair yoga videos
there's
on
a
the group in the
foundation,
group.
there's a foundation called Love Your Brain that they offer a free adaptive yoga program at various yoga studios throughout the country.
Oh, that's fantastic. If you would like to put a link in the wellness group, that would be much appreciated. I have also posted a link in the wellness group for a brain body yoga that's taught by a woman up in Massachusetts that I actually attend. This is an adaptive yoga. She does it standing up, but she will teach adaptability with it. And it happens, it's a free class. They ask that you donate. The donation is a little bit complicated, and I think they're trying to work that out because there's no way to donate anything. You have to actually cut a check and mail it to them right now. And that's a little bit complicated. In my opinion, it's so much easier just to do it over PayPal or one or the other. But it's put off by the library in this particular town that this woman lives in. She is a phenomenal instructor. Her husband actually had a stroke. So it's kind of all tied in. And the type of yoga that she teaches, this brain body yoga, was developed by a man whose wife had a stroke. And he developed this yoga to help her heal. So it's pretty fascinating. The link is in the wellness group posted. I have it pinned to
I'm
the
not
top.
a member of the wellness group, so.
Oh, please feel free to become one.
I can circle back and get the 2 yoga links and put them in the description on this video. There are also a couple of other resources for yoga. Lesley Hadley is a stroke survivor who has a class every Friday, and it's adaptive or chair yoga. My sister-in-law also does it on Sundays. Winnie and I have been doing it for more than a year, pushing a year and a half. The changes are really subtle. Winnie, I've noticed I don't necessarily get up out of the chair to do warrior and stuff, but when I started, I couldn't do that. Now I can get into the warrior from a standing position, no trouble. When my sister-in-law teaches it, and she'd go into happy baby, that's when you sit on the back of your spine and grab both of your toes with your arms and legs straight out. Don't try this at home. There's no way, I still can't do it. I can't straighten out my legs, but I can sit on my butt and balance now because I kept trying it. When she would do that, I would say, oh, I'm not going to sit this out. I'm going to do it my way. It's back to the self-awareness thing. Sometimes when you're taking an adaptive yoga class, you may not be able to do the adaptation that the teacher is doing, so you sometimes have to
modify it,
make up your own. So add yoga teacher to that list of psychologists and patient advocate and PT and OT and everything else that you have to be to get better. You said you had, I didn't mean to want to cut you off or anything. I think you said you had questions on a couple subjects.
Well,
I did too.
I saw some sort of, I think, brace or whatever on Jeff's arm, and I wanted to ask if that happened to be a MyoMo device.
A brace?
I think I saw it, unless I was looking at it weird.
Well, they make
subluxation.
They make shoulder braces for subluxation. They basically.
I know, but I'm asking specifically: is it a MyoMo device?
Is it a what?
MyoMo device.
Oh, that's very expensive. Polly, I'll let you talk about that. I know about it, but you
I
know
met
more than I
with
know
them
about
this morning. So,
Hmm.
it.
80,000.
Or is it 400 a month or 500 a month? 400 a month?
That's even a different one. The Myomo is different than
Which one are they renting now?
that
I
is.
thought it was Miami.
No, that's a different one that uses electric signals for motion. It's fascinating and I was approved for it, but Anthem Insurance does not cover it at all. They have written their policies in such a way that it is never ever covered. And that one is $80,000 to $90,000.
Who can afford that? I guess what they're looking for is there's a lot of things like that board you use, Polly, is $20,000. So typically you're going to see that at rehab.
The
The
smart
place.
board,
Yeah,
I think that was 3,000.
I looked it up the other day. Unless I had something else that said
I
21,000.
think you had something else because the smart board
Effect?
is, yeah, 3 to 5. Now they have clinic versions, which can be multiple users, and that one is more expensive, but the home version just for the board was 3,000. I think it was 5,000 with tablet.
Still, that's basically puts it out in most people's price range.
They let me pay for it over 3.5 years.
Okay.
No credit check, they just let you just pay a monthly fee. So yes, it is out of the reach of many people, but they have tried to make it more accessible.
Okay. I think devices are great. I don't believe that they're required to get better. I think that they can maybe make you get better faster or enhance recovery. But there are plenty of folks out there that get better without any kind of devices. Anyway, we're straying off of wellness now.
Jeff, did you have another question?
I had one more. Did you
Please.
say that your right eye was completely blinded?
My right eye, I had very small field vision around the top of my right eye. And it was as though somebody had taken a Sharpie marker and went right over the other part of it. And
Is
now
it
it's funny, I went back to the eye doctor just a few months ago and I walked out of there with a 20/20 vision eye check. And my husband and I were looking at each other like, maybe that guy is a little blind.
Was was the
is there
doctor surprised?
Yes, we were all very surprised. I knew my vision had gotten better, but I had had eye problems before the stroke, and now I see better than I did prior to.
is there
So,
any particular modality that you used to get it back?
you know, this all just kind of happened. There wasn't anything that I intended on actually working when I started this. I just
Okay.
thought, I'm done. I was so exhausted with going to doctors and trying to get a team of doctors to work with me to help me heal what was going on that was going to work with the way my life was functioning at that time. Dragging my butt downtown to therapy appointments 5 times a week was impossible in the beginning for me because I had to do the bus the whole time. It wasn't like I was taking cars. And if I did take an insurance provided ride, I would get stuck in a van for 3 or 4 hours. I mean, it was absolutely absurd. By the time I got home, I would be in so much body pain from just being in one position for so long, it just didn't allow for me to properly function. So, yeah, I just started trying these things. And honestly, what I found was whenever I began the breath, I had also began eliminating dairy and gluten from my food plan. And I've completely reworked my entire nutritional content at this point. Um, I can't pinpoint the vision coming back to the breath only. I can only pinpoint the actual whole healing that I've had occur within my body began when I started doing that breath and elimination of certain foods.
Well, you changed about 11 things at the same time. The scientific method would tell you to change one thing at a time and observe the changes. So, I mean, that's why.
Well, it was kind of like I didn't wake up and do this all at once. I started
Oh,
doing the
no.
breath, yeah, and then I started doing like within a month I started doing something else, adding it. And then maybe within another couple weeks I was like, okay, this looks really interesting. I started learning about this and I was like, I'm going to start doing this. And as I have gone through this, I have been able to grow and grow and grow. Now I enjoy doing all different kinds of modalities. So I highly recommend if you take a lot of medications, detox your system. Those medicines that we make for our bodies to heal are meant to be used acutely. And whenever we are taking them long term, they build up within our body system and it doesn't allow our body system to function the way it's supposed to. Um, so I don't know.
A lot of times it's a matter of
I could speak a nutrition you could speak into. That's a whole nother hour long topic,
what.
of nutrition and like the nutrition, like the variety of nutrition that people can actually use to feed their body and how it can make a physiological impact on what their cells are saying to each other. It's pretty profound. And Ralph and I have a lady that's a chef and a nutritionist, and she's actually an herbalist as well. I've talked to Ralph a couple times about having her on. We just need to work out a schedule. I would really like to have Karina come on and speak into how this stuff, what it does within your body system and how it really works and what you can do to make proper changes. The best thing I think I would like to leave you guys with is some recommendations on a couple books. I read the book Breath by a guy named James Nestor, life altering. I also read some things that Joe Dispenza has wrote. One is called We're the Placebo. The other is called Becoming Supernatural. And then I moved into a book called Medical Medium. And it speaks heavily about inflammation. A stroke is caused by too much inflammation within your body systems. And inflammation is a huge problem in this country because of the way that people choose, the way that we've taught each other to eat. Like we've evolved into these, let's eat quick and fast and let's eat food that we don't have to spend a lot of time preparing and things like that. But honestly, I don't really spend a whole lot of time preparing food. I do frozen vegetables, I do frozen fruits, I do fresh fruits, I do fresh vegetables, and I try not to eat stuff I shouldn't eat. I stay away from corn oil and canola oil, things like that. I only eat avocado oil and olive oil. Like there's certain things, there's good fats and there's bad fats for your body. There's good things that come with antioxidants. The more color you put in your body, the more the antioxidants and these properties that you bring, this nutritional content that you bring into your body for your body system that has an army in it is your immunity. And these are all immune systems. So if you're bringing all of these colors into your immune system, you're bringing everything from vitamin D to vitamin K to, vitamin A and vitamin B. And these things are things that our body needs even more once you have an experience like this. So, okay, I'm done rambling on.
Okay. Well, I'd love it if you put me in touch with your
I'm going
nutritionist and
to.
we get her on. In the
Yeah.
meantime, I met a certified nutritionist in the Nutrition After Stroke group,
Awesome.
and I invited her on, and she actually is specializing in helping in nutrition for stroke recovery specifically. And so I've invited her to come on. I don't think you can talk about this too much. There'll be a month
No.
apart. There'll be different people. They'll have different perspectives. This is really key. One of the big keys here, and we is getting rid of those toxins and triggers and things that you do that set your body off, and getting more good fuel into your body. Whatever your body requires. So, if anybody else got anything before we close this out, let's see, Wendy's shaking her head. Okay. Well, I guess I'll thank you, Angelia, for taking the time a second time, and it's still recording, so we're good. And
We did it.
I'll post the links to the nutrition group, the wellness group, the two different yogas. Anything else that I'm supposed to remember? Those are the ones I remember: yoga, wellness,
Calendar.
nutrition. Pardon?
Oh, the calendar.
Calendar.
Oh yeah. Okay.
I dropped it in the chat.
Okay. It wasn't there a minute when I looked right after you talked, but I'll make sure to grab it. And so. Thank you all for coming. Thank you again, Angelia, and we'll see everybody next Tuesday. Actually, we've got a doctor of neurophysical therapy coming on. So I just met her through Medical University of South Carolina. So we haven't talked on the phone yet, but she said, "How about July 12th?" And I said, "Great, I got an empty slot. Now it's filled." Anyway, we'll talk on the phone this week. She and I could talk. Well, if she wants to present, I'm going to let her present. And she and I could talk, and the group could talk for 12 hours on neuro PT at least. So that should be good. And then 2 weeks after that, the 19th is empty right now. We might end up doing nutrition. The 26th, I've got a physical therapist who had a stroke, who has managed to run a marathon or two post-stroke and return to his physical therapy practice. And he has a podcast called No Stroke, and basically does the same sort of thing that we're doing here. Kind of takes a science or knowledge-based approach as opposed to the there's certainly a place for a group meeting where everybody talks. I go to Michelle Jensen's, who was here earlier, every Monday. I missed it yesterday. But normally I'm there, and those certainly have their place, as does being able to get some knowledge some places, because I think it takes both. I think it takes that sense of community and feeling like you belong in those kind of groups. And I think any knowledge or science or anything that you can glean that can help with a more focused recovery. So that's what we got coming up the next few weeks. And so hopefully we'll see some or all of you next Tuesday. And thank you for a third time, Angelia, for
Thank you, everybody.
taking the time.
I appreciate it. Happy healing.